So as I've said, I'm a creative at heart. I also regard myself as a brand enthusiast because I love the idea of just brands. Actually, I love the idea of entrepreneurship in business. So that is my entire business model is centered around creativity. Even in the essence of the company name, Sika is actually a Shona name, which means to create. So I believe that we are a group of creators and we are doing all of this on the basis of the creator, which is God. I am a child of God. And I think most importantly, what drives me is just the curiosity. You know, I'm a very curious person. I'm always ready and willing to learn. And I hope that what I'm about to share today is going to, you know, really cover that curious part for someone who is with us on this Zoom and who's also a creative, a curious person like myself. So without wasting any more time, I'm going to go into my talk. So I've actually came up with the topic for today's talk, which is marketing, the driver of your corporate narrative. And the reason for this is because I personally believe that marketing is about storytelling. I think in the essence of a true marketer is a desire to share and to tell a story. Because I also believe that through storytelling, there is a level of connection, right? So I think that each and every brand has a story. Like, why do you develop the brand? And in most cases, why was the company formed? And that is each and every company's story. And sharing that correctly creates connection between the company and its desired target audience. So I'm going to then just more or less just unpack how each and every brand can then communicate that narrative to their desired target audience. And with that, I'm going to start with like the big question, which is how do you truly drive the narrative of your organization? You know, we're living in a world now with information overload. Like you take your smartphone, you go on Facebook, you see hundreds of brands a day. You come across hundreds of different people trying to sell either products, either services, or sometimes just ideas, propagandas, notions, beliefs, you know. But how then do you, as a brand, how do you differentiate yourself from that noise and that clatter and actually come different or come apart from others? So I decided to share 4 principles that I believe are key in order for you to be able to do that. And to start that off, I'm going to just start mention all 4, and then I'm going to go into details with explaining them, and maybe also adding practical examples on how myself and my company have done this in order to practicalize what I'm saying, and maybe also create that application element for anyone who would want to do this for their own organization, company, job, or just as a marketer as a whole. So the first one is specialization. Second is differentiation. Third is segmentation. And the fourth one is concentration. So I don't want this to come across as a lecture or a class session. So I want to try by all means to be as engaging and as practical as I can be. I think it goes without saying that as consumers, because whether you are a business owner, whether you are a professional, whether you're in corporate, you are also a consumer one way or the other. We are all consumers, right? So I think that we've all come to realize that as consumers, we no longer want to be tricked. We don't, I mean, it's the sale tag is not the driving force for you to actually purchase an item, or the service packaging is not the reason that I will go for a certain service provider compared to the next service provider, but it is actually the inspiration element, right? So I'll make a very big example, like as to why someone would go for a Mercedes as compared to a BMW, or a Puma as compared to a Nike. You know, in most cases, people feel a sense of connection between themselves as a brand. Yes, those are upskill examples, and I want to make this talk as practical and as relatable as possible. The same thing applies with our own small businesses. As small as it is, you have a target audience. There are certain people that you are trying to reach, and there are certain people that you want to actually consume your product or use your services, right? So the first thing is specialization. How are you aligning yourself as an expert and the best in what you do? How is how you are handling your product or your service aligning you or actually presenting you as an expert in that field? There might be a lot of people doing the same thing, but how are you showing that you are continuously trying to learn, to perfect yourself? You know, how are even if a person can look at your product or your service and know that there are so many other people doing it, but what's that emotional or that personal thing that makes a person feel like you are forever trying to perfect what you are doing, so that they can trust using it, or they can trust your services because they know that you are actually intentionally trying to make it the best that there is. So marketing, therefore, comes in you showing that to your clients in a way that inspires them and in a way that makes them want to support you. Because when all is said and done, for small businesses, and you're even seeing this with the whole notion of Black business, supports Black business, supports small businesses, supports female businesses, you know. But yes, true, all good and well, you know, we are a bit behind and we are trying to catch up. That's why you have your BEs and so forth. But what are we also doing in our storytelling to show that we are trying to be the best? Because I think it becomes frustrating for people to support small businesses if they feel like small businesses are exploiting them, you know. So specialization therefore comes in with just you showing how are you perfecting your product, you know, what is the story behind your product? What are the values behind the company, behind the service offering? What keeps you guys going, you know? So those things are crucial in specialization. Secondly, it's differentiation. How are you being different and what is your competitive advantage? Key. Because, you know, especially in small cities or towns, even in general, there's this whole monkey see, monkey do notion. And sometimes it's not even a monkey see, monkey do notion. It's almost like when you start doing something, you start noticing so many other people doing it. Actually, people are doing it anyway. There's nothing really special about you. It's just that you are now conscious about it because you are in the process of doing it. So differentiation then becomes crucially important. Like, what is your competitive advantage? What makes you different from the next person? I think, yes, you might feel like specialization and differentiation can be similar, but differentiation is what is your unique selling proposition? Like, if someone was to come up to you and be like, why should I buy your product? You know, you can't say because my product is cheaper. No, yes, you have your 4Ps and all of that, and that's something maybe I'll touch into some marketing, concepts, but that's another thing. But I mean, as far as just your messaging, what is your competitive advantage? How are people being able to identify that competitive advantage? Because yes, there's an internal competitive advantage that will be discussed between you and your team in the boardroom. But if someone looks at your organization, they need to be able to see that strand of DNA that makes it different from the next person. Thirdly, it's segmentation. So segmentation is how you connecting with your desired target audience. Like, who is your market segment? Because you really can't please everyone. The same way in life, you can never make everybody happy. Not everybody's gonna love you. So similar thing in business. It is what it is. You cannot be trying to sell to everybody. You have to know who are you targeting. Who is your segment? Like, who are the people that you are talking to? Because that then defines the tone of your message. It then defines the platforms in which you're sharing your message. You know, it says a lot. So truly understanding your segment is also understanding that these are the people that I want to service. So these are the people that, I need to create this relationship with these type of people. So like being really intentional about your segmentation also saves you a lot of time, because you're clear as to where are you going, like who are you trying to speak to. Yes, you end up attracting different sorts of people as you go, but being clear about your segmentation also makes your brand communication and your storytelling very intentional. Finally, it's concentration. So how are you being intentional about your focus and your direction? Like, where are you focusing? Like, where are you directing your time, your money, and your resources? Because marketing is a lot of time, it is a lot of money, and it is a lot of resources. So it's very important, therefore, to have a concentration span. Be very intentional about where you want to focus, right? So those are just the 4 points I wanted to touch base on a very, I don't want to say summative, because I don't think there was anything summative about what I just said. But, and to further go on to that, because part of the topic being like the driver of your corporate narrative, because a narrative is a very powerful thing, because now you're talking about what you are telling the world. Being very clear about these 4 points allows you to fine-tune your narrative, because sometimes you find that as a business, it takes time for you to truly understand what your narrative is. You start your business having a certain idea, and then the more you progress in business, you start to realize that, this is actually the direction that I want to go, So really looking at these 4 principles helps you to shape that and fine-tune that and be like, okay, this is the narrative. And once you really master the essence of your business narrative, it becomes so much easier for you to attract not only the right target audience in terms of purchasing your products or your services, but also collaboration and also just growth, for your business. So another element that I did touch base on was your unique selling proposition, right? And I want to just further elaborate on this, because I feel like it is crucially important. And the reason that I say it's crucially important is because, the core essence of any company to focus on marketing is because it wants to drive sales. But now what happens is we've noticed so many companies having a lot of sales and then losing people on an emotional level, and everything goes wrong. So now the truth now, when you look at corporate narrative in terms of marketing, it's the longevity. Like, how are you speaking to people for the long term, right? As I said earlier, people don't really want to be sold things. People don't want to feel like they've been persuaded to buy. People want to be inspired, and then they want to be triggered. So in the process of inspiring someone, you trigger them and you make them want to be associated with that product or that service, right? So how is your story inspiring? That could be one. And how are you making people feel better with what you are either selling or that service that you're offering, And what value are you adding to people? Because that's very, very important. Once a person has had an encounter with your business, how are they different from that, And what that does is that it creates a long-term relationship between yourself and your clients. Because now they feel like there's an external level of value that they get from you, And how are you giving people epiphanies? Because as entrepreneurs, we're supposed to be perspective changers. We have to be those people that actually thrive in being able to help people see things differently. If I'm a service-oriented company, I need to make sure that my companies see value in what I'm doing for them. And in that process, I need to expose them to things that they didn't think about, I need to have them feeling or seeing differently just because they've had an encounter with my service or my product, So outside of the products and the services that we're selling, people really want to have an experience. And that's really, really key. And I think as a marketer, that is normally a driving force for any strategy, pitch, concept, whatever it is. You want people to feel a certain level of experience because people take experiences with them, right? So after experiencing you, how are people's lives changed? And how do you actually build long-term relationships with people? And where that goes in is the lasting impression, because an experience is all about a lasting impression. So in the process of your corporate narrative, how are you creating a lasting impression? So, and then I want to also touch base on the relevance of corporate storytelling today. Steve Jobs, I think I'm still on time, yeah. 20 minutes in. Okay, Steve Jobs actually says, he has a quote that says, the most powerful people are storytellers. So, and you come to think about it, you think, okay, what is that really supposed to mean? And it goes back to that whole notion that I mentioned in the beginning, which speaks about connection. You know, the more you actually engage people, you connect with them, because one way or the other, our stories link up and our stories tie in, you know, and that is the power for all marketers. So organization become personable to consumers. When you share the story, people no longer associate the brand as something that is far off. They can actually feel a level of relating. So they feel like it becomes more of a personal relationship. And one thing that also becomes key in that process is that people don't forget the brand. So it becomes memorable, you know. So in this day and age, and when you actually look at what was happening around us in the world, actually, with the pandemic, it was the brands that actually stood up against what was going on. It was the brands that actually showed that they cared about their people. You know, there was a time where people were like, what are insurance companies saying? We at home, like, what are they saying? Because people, yes, you are gonna go for a certain insurance company because you need your car to be insured. But in the process of that, you wanna feel that level of caring and that level of consideration about what you stand for and about what is also happening in the world, right? So with that being said, I think that the essence of your corporate narrative goes back to that one question. Did you make a connection with the person? You know, are people finding what you are saying valuable enough for them to want to share it with the next person? You know, because we get to a point where we like talking about word of mouth, when we're talking about all these other elements, but all those things go back to actually you starting a genuine and honest conversation with your consumers that triggers them, you know, that inspires them, and then makes them want to do better and makes them want to do good. So people really at the essence of of each and every person, we want to feel a sense of inspiration. We want to feel like whatever we're participating in our lives adds a certain level of value. So as a brand, it is crucially important to look into those elements. In whatever marketing strategy you want to have for your company, it's important to put your consumers first and be intentional about it. Yeah, so I think that is what I have to share. I don't know if there are any questions.
Oh, it's like I could keep on telling the story. Oh, thank you very much, my dear sister. Look, with everything happening so fast, digital age coming in for IR and all these big concepts that people are talking about, I just know that I'm on social media. What are the risks of using my own personal page to tell my brand story? And in possibly answering that, how crucial is it to build the channel, the community, and the consistency in telling the story of my friend?
Okay, thank you so much for the question. So I think there are two questions here. The first one is about just technology, FIR, social media, where like, how do you then go out, like how is it good to use your personal page to tell the story of your brand? I think that's the first question, right? Okay, thank you so much for the question. And I think the question touches base on the element of personal branding. Right. So before I answer the question and what I believe would be the right approach to then use. I think it's very important when you start a business to also understand that you are, to understand that you're starting something outside of yourself. Because you get to a point where you employ people, where you know the works. So yes, you are the owner of the business, but you are still an individual, and you would not want to tie your business to yourself. Hence, it's important to work on your personal brand as a personal brand. So you are an entrepreneur, you're a businessman, work on your personal brand, be intentional about your personal brand, and yes, promote your business, but allow your business to have its own marketing strategy and its own marketing independence, free from you. And then you become a representative and an ambassador of that, to make sure that because people need to see that you believe in your own business for them to also believe in the business. But it's very important for entrepreneurs, and I believe this is a challenge that most entrepreneurs face, which is to differentiate themselves from their business, or actually even diluting, the power of their business by associating it too much to themselves. Because at the end of the day, you are a human being, you might make mistakes and so forth, and you wouldn't want that denting the entire reputation and identity of your business. So my suggestion would be like, a company should have its own marketing strategy, should have its own social media strategies as a company, as an entity. And you as a person should also work on building your personal brand, and make sure that your personal brand is in true alignment to your business, but it is not, it's not diluted in your business, or your business is not diluted in your personal brand. So that would be one. Tapel, please kindly remind me of the second question.
All right. It's how crucial is it to choose the channel, to build the community, and to be consistent with those choices that you've made.
True. Okay, definitely. And I think it goes back to what I just said. It's very important when you go into social media to have like a strategy or a plan, and to also do like some research on the different types of social media platforms that are available. So it goes back to the 4 points that I said. When you truly understand your segmentation, it becomes easier for you to truly and to be able to see which social media platform works best for your company. It is important, yes, to set up all social media platforms have like a social media message and a social media tone for your company, but it also helps to truly understand your segmentation and know who are you trying to speak to, so that you can understand which platform you want to go into. But yes, and another thing I think I could add, it takes time for a company to truly like master social media, and it should be very intentional, because it's so easy to look at what other companies are doing and feel like that's what your company should also be doing, only to find that that's not what your company needs, or that's not the strategy or the approach that your company should take. So when you sit down and actually sit down with marketers, or even just do your research as an entrepreneur, to look at different forms of marketing strategies and different like approaches that you can use for your business. But I would suggest that truly understanding the segmentation and the differentiation element, because you don't want to blend in even on social media, where you get to a point where you are saying the same thing. I'll make an example with when COVID started, and almost every organization was sending emails around COVID. And someone actually wrote on LinkedIn like, okay, we got you, thank you. But you also can't blame them, you can't blame them, because each and every organization feels like they need to say something, but that differentiation element to be like, okay, I'm sure newsletters are packed now. How about we use an article approach and actually post articles and reshare them on our social media? So that's also very important, to just always be in a process of research and aligning your company accordingly.
All right, my last question before I take the audience. We whether we like it or not, disruptive forces are at work with most of our industries. Does it mean traditional way of marketing is out of choice now?
True. That's a powerful question. It is, because even with the pandemic, it just speeded everything up in a very drastic way. I wouldn't necessarily completely write off traditional marketing as a whole. And I have my reasons to say that, because as I said, there are certain things that we still have. It's like an instinct type of mentality, even now with 4R being here, some of us still just want to see things. We still want to feel like we want to touch it. We're so uncomfortable with e-commerce, and it's going to take time for people to actually get into the zone of that. So I think as entrepreneurs, it's important for us to just tread carefully, not entirely write off traditional marketing media or whatever the case might be, but understand that yes, there are certain things that are going to fall off, because there's no one now that will be comfortable taking a flyer on the road, with COVID. But there are certain other channels that people are still going to want to associate themselves with. But with just the pandemic, I think it really calls for us to also truly be in the process of equipping ourselves, and because the 4-hour conversation was a conversation that was going on for the longest of time. We always felt like, yes, it was happening, but some of us were like, when did we have the 3-hour? Like, what's going on? But now with the pandemic, some of us, okay, like, it is here, it is what it is. But I think as an entrepreneur, we can't necessarily write it off completely, but we need to now start really informing ourselves with the digital world, because that is the direction that the world is going.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. The room is on fire. I'm gonna start with the questions. Anonymous, okay. Can your pricing be different? Can your pricing be your differentiator in order to disrupt the target market? That's a question, Ashley.
Okay, that that question, I wouldn't say yes, unfortunately. I would say rather, instead of using the term pricing, I would say your value, right? Your value can definitely be a differentiator, because pricing is one thing, but value is another. But now when you also come to think about it, your pricing is derived from your value, so I really do not think that your pricing like, I hope I'm answering the question correctly, because people are willing to pay for value. So if you use your value as a differentiator, it really doesn't matter like how much the product costs, because if people see value, people will pay. So we could definitely go for value.
Thank you very much. I hope that is answered. Anonymous again, how do you stand out from the crowded market?
How do you stand out from the crowded market? Okay. I think maybe the 4 principles I shared could be one way. They could definitely be one way, but it goes back to just the differentiator, the differentiator, like how are you making yourself different? Like, what is your competitive advantage? It really needs a lot of work, if I'm being honest. It needs a lot of work, and it needs that fine tuning, that like being in a process to continuously better yourself, because you can never really get to a point where you're like, okay, now I'm apart from everybody else. I'm apart from my competitors. I'm the best in the game. We've seen people that have been the best in the game, and they are no more now, because they were never in a process of continuous learning. If you talk about your Nokias, they were leading, your Blackberries, there was a point where they were the best, and their competitors were at the back. But now, because they got to a point where they were no longer developing themselves, so I really think, to be honest, it would be just the continuous work, truly understand your key message, and then use that message in a way that now speaks to people. Because at the end of the day, your company values and your company principles can never be the same as the next person. So how are you then communicating that to differentiate yourself? So I think that's how I would answer the question. Like, just work on that. And it is an unending process, definitely it is, but it can really be achieved.
You remind me of a question that was asked in a sitting. It was a conference of entrepreneurs. And the speaker, when he started, he said, do you need big budget for marketing or do you need more papers for your marketing plan? And everyone was just quiet. All right,
Okay.
anonymous again is saying, if you are connecting with people or market, but they don't afford your product, how can you get people to buy?
Then you're speaking to the wrong people. Go to the people that can afford your product. Then go and speak to so it goes back to segmentation. Try and find people that can afford your product, because those people will see value in what you're doing and they'll be willing to pay for it.
Thank you very much, Cecilia. I'm still continuing. I told you the room is on fire.
No problem.
Okay. Okay. On the day yourself, okay, it's on fire. Tepo, hi, can we have this be given in a Q&A at the end as well? All right, I'm not sure that that's what were you regarding to. Can you just give us clarity? That if in your family is saying, find unique selling proposition. Not everyone is your customer. Thank you, sir. He also say, may I ask you, Ausi, as an entrepreneur without marketing skills running small businesses, how do you build your own corporate story and ensure that your vision reflects in everything you do, things like logo, brands, clothing, etc.?
So as a small business, how do you build your corporate story and ensure that your vision is reflected in everything that you do? I think to answer that, it would, especially as a small as running a small business. Yeah, that's what he said, right? He's running a small business. I'm going to say this, you have to be intentional, right? Because as a small business, you don't have a big marketing budget, as you said earlier. You don't have a big marketing budget, so you can't have caps, t-shirts, caps. You can't afford all of that. But it's like it really takes you to be very intentional, and maybe look at what your company needs. Like what is it that your company needs to put itself out there? And then once you get to that point, you then sit back and you become creative as to how that can be done, because sometimes you can, and in marketing, it needs you to be like really creative and shoot two birds with one stone as far as marketing is concerned. So maybe I'll make an example with a website. If your company cannot currently afford a fully functional website, you could have a website that is out there and that has a welcome page and just clearly defines your services and has your contact details. It doesn't necessarily need to be fully functional from the get-go, because more functionality obviously means more investment in that website. So I'm making a very practical example to say it really goes without saying that sometimes we cannot afford all this marketing collateral from the beginning, right? But and we need to then, as small businesses, to be very creative with what we choose to invest in and what we don't choose to invest in. Sometimes you cannot really afford to have your entire team in corporate wear, but you can maybe say, as a person, when you're going to buy your own clothes, you just buy a plain t-shirt. They have these in malls where they like in every mall, they will have like a place where they do engraving or laminating. You take that t-shirt there and you just put your company logo, so it can start with those really small things, the small businesses, that we just need to be more intentional about it and be very conscious and with how we actually make our decisions on our daily lives. And sometimes even with sharing our corporate narrative and our corporate story, it really takes us always talking about our businesses when we're with our friends, to talk about our businesses, you know, to really gloat about our businesses. And that is also marketing in its own sense, you know. So I really think it does take time and it does require a lot of money, but there are small things that we can change within ourselves on our WhatsApp statuses to actually be intentional to say, I will post about my business every single day. You know, that is marketing in its own way, you know. So I think to answer that question, I could say, as a small business, you can do those things to ensure that the vision is reflected in everything that you do.
Oh, so thank you, sister. Let me continue reading the questions. Okay. Ausjabulile is saying, thank you for the beautiful presentation, Ausi. My question is, can organization culture be used as a competitive advantage, or is it something only meant for employees within an organization?
Okay. These questions are coming in like, let's ask you. I see. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, that's an amazing question. But I would say that it is really something that can be used as a competitive advantage. And the reason that I say this is because we see this a lot, how a company, like the organizational culture, is reflected through the company, you know. And that should actually be the way to go about it. Employees, people in the inside, should really believe in what the organizational culture says, and they should exude it as people in their own ways of life. And that could even also be a marketing tool in its own way, because of just how people like carry themselves based on the organizational culture. So I think most definitely it is something that can be used as a competitive advantage, and it's not necessarily supposed to be meant for employees within the organization.
Okay. Okay, I love an approach of using differentiation strategy, building your business as a brand and have you as an individual. So profound. Thank you, sister. Joseph Louis, I love the bubbly personality. The Free State loves you, yeah.
I'm coming.
Letu, how did you know that this is what you were destined to do? I'm sorry. How did you know this is what you were destined to do, and how did you mold into a sustainable business? I believe this question can help the next young individual to go to it. Litu Tusi. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrongly.
Oh, that's a good question.
Litu Tusi.
Letu Tusi.
Letu Tusi. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. It's a deep question. Very deep. How did you know that this is what you were destined to do, and how did you mold it into a sustainable business? I love the word sustainable because it's very powerful. Sustainable, true, because at the end of the day, you can be passionate about something and you can believe that it can be a possible business. But if you are not then fully like researching and applying yourself and making like the hard calls and the hard sacrifices, then you might just be doing something and you might not be creating a sustainable business. I personally knew that this was what I was destined to do because it came so naturally for me. I really enjoyed it and I found a lot of joy in doing it. And I have always been one that has been passionate about entrepreneurship. Even growing up, I used to be that child that used to sell at school. I used to just love the idea of just business as a whole. But truly then finding my niche in the marketing space took a lot of forces in my life to just keep redirecting me to what I was doing. But the real responsibility came on that last part of the question, which I love, which is how did you then mold it into a sustainable business? Now I run a company and I actually have employees that I look at and I get so inspired by. And I feel every day that it is a huge responsibility, and it is something that I need to always fully apply myself in doing. And it took a lot of hard work and a lot of sacrifice, and actually it still does, because it is still just the beginning. But I have to be honest, it was always the process of just being curious. Running a business takes a lot of research, surrounding yourself with the right people, and just in the process of surrounding yourself with the right people, being intentional about building like lasting and fruitful relationships, because it is people around you that are actually going to be the person that leads you to your next big client. It is people around you that are going to be there for you, because business is a very lonely journey. Like, it is so lonely, and you need to be surrounded by other business people in this process, people that will understand the challenges that come with it. So the sustainable business part is very tricky. I don't think it's as sustainable as I would want it to be as yet. But now it's also the accountability to truly understand that it's no longer about me. There are certain people that have invested themselves, their time, and they truly believe in the vision of what we're doing. So I also owe it to them. And also just seeing the value that we add for our clients also keeps me going. But I won't lie, like market readiness, pricing, accounting, HR, you need to be surrounded by professionals that know that and are willing to share that knowledge with you. And I think, to just add to that, because that's something that I know I struggled with when I started my business, was the element of just making sure that I get things right at all times. Sometimes you're not going to get it right on the first time, and that should be okay. But now what shouldn't be okay is you being okay with the fact that you didn't get it right. That should not be okay. You should always be wanting to better yourself and get it right, and just praying for the right team. That will take you very far. Like, people that you hire are your greatest commodity.
Wow. Thank you very much. We have Sbahle. That one I know how to pronounce it. Thank you, Liat, for such an informative presentation. One question from one of our team members is saying, how does a 5-year-old social, how does a 5-year-old brand in event space stay relevant during this time of social distancing?
Sure. Yeah, true. That's a yeah, I truly relate to that, because I was just even thinking about restaurants. You think about all these businesses that have been hit very much by this pandemic. But to answer that on a marketing level, it would be to yeah. No, that is a very good question. No, it's a very good question. It really is.
We here with you.
It's a very, very good question. It's a very good question, because I'm thinking, like, I'm actually thinking about the fact that what is happening is contradicting the entire business model, because the entire business model is centered around people being together, and now people need to be apart because of this virus. So it becomes a very difficult thing. However, I think, as far as like marketing and putting the company brand out there, it would be, I've been seeing a lot of these creative ways of virtual events, got like people hosting these gospel things online, streaming live, And even with what we're doing now, webinars. So I'm just trying to be more practical in answering this question. So it would have to really mean sitting down, going back to the drawing board, being intentional with just going digital with that approach, right? So in the space with Zooms, like trying to come up with different concepts that that still speak to the different events that were being done before. And obviously now it will have to be more intentional because of numbers and connectivity and so forth. But it's a very difficult question, Tapel, if I'm being really honest, and I don't have all the answers, and it's really sad. We're going to be seeing it with restaurants opening up now. I saw in the US they even have like these glass things separating different people in restaurants. You know, it's going to take a lot of innovation. It's going to take a lot of creativity, and it's really going to take as us as entrepreneurs to challenge ourselves, you know, to think outside of the box. No one saw this coming, but funny enough, we've always known that technology was the next thing. But I think we just thought it was there. We thought that it was just there. It was, but now it's right in front of us, and we need to tackle it. It's not a monster. We need to look at it as a positive thing and be like, how can we incorporate what we have been doing to the new normal? Yeah.
All right, just Liat, looking at the positive side of things, I think the digital age, what it has done, we have seen the arrival of disruptors who innovate best solutions that counters common problems that people always faces on the day in and day out. So what is in every bad story there is a good chapter. What is 2 or 3 things that are good that we saying this difficult time has done favor for us as entrepreneurs, to pushing us in a space that, like you said, that the digital time was still coming, but we never knew or how long is going to take place. So what is 1 thing or 2 things that you say it has really worked in our favor as entrepreneurs?
I really think number 1 is the connection. You know, it has actually made us realize that we are all so connected. You know, I saw this a lot, especially early days of lockdown, where we were all stuck at home. Like everybody was stuck at home. You know, the country went into a standstill, and that's one thing as entrepreneurs. It makes you realize that, because you get so easily consumed by the rush, the presentations, the meetings, and you think, you know, you're on top of the world, and then you get to sit back and be like, whoa, you know, I'm a human being, I'm a person, you know, I need to connect with my family, I need to connect with my loved ones. I really think it was the connection element, and even on that level, on not just the personal elements of it, but even the professional elements, when you can actually realize that, oh, okay, my target market is at home right now. You know, my clients, my suppliers, you know, I think it really gave us that opportunity to just connect with self, to connect with just everyone around us, to connect with just the essence of it is to understand that we are one way or the other all connected, right? I loved what it did on an emotional level. And then also, I think one thing, it also made us realize the amount of responsibility that we have. You know, COVID-19 exposed in extreme levels of poverty in our country. And I think we knew, but we never really saw it that deeply, because you know, COVID just actually put it out there, you know. And I think as small businesses, as entrepreneurs, most especially as Black entrepreneurs, seeing our people in those vulnerable states just really takes us back to actually understand the responsibility that we have. You know, even with the whole food parcel thing, we saw NPOs. I think as businesses, it made us realize, you know, when we saw the solidarity, all of those things, we started realizing that, whoa, as businesses, we actually have a huge responsibility. You know, we have a responsibility to give back to our people. We have a responsibility to make sure that we build sustainable businesses that are going to be able to give back to our people. You know, and personally, I think also on an element of just now being on lockdown and actually realizing that as a company, some people couldn't pay their employees. Some people lost their jobs. You know, as a small business, you also went deep into like your compliance. You know, certain people couldn't even apply for grants because they were not compliant. And as a small business, then what that did is that it makes you realize that you cannot be running a business that is not compliant. You need to always make sure that your things are on par. You know, you always need to make sure that you're doing things correctly so that when such things happen, you can get your UIFs. You can, you know, so I think really it was a wake-up call. You know, it really shook us apart. And we have to, yes, look at the positives, but at the same time, even in the negative things, we have to find the positive. And I think for me, the things that I just mentioned now really stood out for me a lot. And yeah, I really hope I'm answering the question.
And you forgot to mention that it made us cross paths.
Oh yes,
and
definitely.
I was only the bridge. It made you connect with 80 people who are joining us here. So I'm gonna take advantage. There's a campaign that you're doing of knowing yourself. Please share with the audience, please.
Oh, thank you so much for that opportunity. Yes, so we actually launched the campaign yesterday. It is hashtag Get to Know You campaign. So this campaign basically is all on the essence of sharing our corporate narrative with our people, right? So we have been in a space where we felt like we are, as a company, we're starting to really get to know who we are. You know, the voices of myself as the chief creative officer and the voices of my colleagues as well. So we then decided that we wanted to start this campaign to share with the world who we are, but not just that, to also give the world a platform to tell us who they are, you know. So the campaign is only evolving now, and I would really encourage everyone that's here to join us on this amazing campaign. It's really something that is so close to our hearts, and we really hope that it will touch people. And you know, today I was just thinking so much just about how when we came up with the campaign, we were thinking about it on a very small scale. And with everything going on in our country right now, especially with gender-based violence, I've also started feeling like get to know you and like get to really know yourself and your true essence. And if each and every person got to a point where they truly got to know themselves, people would thrive to be better people. And we wouldn't have such bad perpetuators of crime and violence in our country that are actually harming and abusing our women and children, you know. So we also as a company now are in a space where we're sitting down with this campaign and we're like, how can we make sure that this campaign starts talking the message of protecting our children and our women? And yeah, so I would really encourage people to follow Seeker Creative Agency on all social platforms and join this campaign. And thank you for the opportunity as well.
Allow you to continue with the business of the night. Okay, energetic session. Your vibrant alone is an experience. Learning a lot. Austabulile saying, if I was in church, I would say amen. Wonderful presentation indeed.
Thank you.
Before you could share with us what do you offer and how do people get hold of you, I would, it's the space that you are in, it's so much dominated by males, because we find that males have courage. They can deal with, walk over their fears, but it's difficult to find our dear sisters to be taking such decisions of leaving corporate spaces and being convicted to pursuing their goals or their dream. Please, can you speak to them?
Now you're making me do what I love most, speaking to my woman. Because I truly stand for women empowerment. It is something that is truly deeply rooted in my heart. I'm very privileged to work with women. Our organization is formed by amazing women, and yeah, so I also think women in business is such a beautiful and a powerful thing, and we need to encourage and support our women to actually pursue business and entrepreneurial ventures and opportunities, right? But I also actually also loved what you said. I mean, to just echo what you said in terms of even in my space, you see like it has a lot of male and individuals. And I think a lot of industries for that matter, right? And to maybe speak to them, to women, especially as far as entrepreneurship is concerned, not only looking at my industry, I would really encourage women. And I mean, it's a beautiful time to be a woman in the world, you know, because there have been such amazing women that have actually paved the path for us, and women that we can look at and women that we can aspire to be like. But I think it really, at the true and the truest essence of it, Otapelo, it goes back to truly understanding that we are fully capable. You know, if we truly get that we are capable, we are powerful, we actually have everything within ourselves to give ourselves the type of life that we want, you know. For me, it's something that statement that I just said now is something I truly believe in, because I think nothing can stand between a woman and her power. And she only gets her power when she truly understands that it is within her, you know. So it really goes to just challenge ourselves, really understand that we are powerful and we have everything within us to actually give ourselves the lives that we want, you know. And always be in a space to dream big. Like, dreaming big can take you far. Like, be in a space to dream big. Like, dream big for yourself, and don't think that your dreams are big enough. There's a saying that says, if your dreams don't scare you, then they are not big enough. And I think it's very true. And it's very, very true, because when you dream big and you look around you and you see amazing women doing amazing things, and it really gives you that edge to be like, yes, I can do it, you know. And I think it really lies with women like myself and other women that are doing amazing things in their spaces to share their stories, you know. And it goes back to that element of storytelling. Share your story, show that it is not magic, it is not rocket science. It just takes hard work, discipline, and resilience. And it is through our stories that we can inspire younger girls to be like, if Liat could do it with just hard work, with just determination, and a whole lot of other principles, then I too can do it, you know. And I really just want to say it can be done. It really can be done.
Wow, thank you very much, my dear sister. How do we, what services are you offering currently to SMEs, and how do we follow up? How do we keep in contact with you?
Perfect. Okay. I'm also going to take this opportunity, because you already gave me opportunities. So on the 1st of July, we're actually launching our digital presence. So we're revamping our website, and we're going to be sharing everything that we offering, because we've remodeled our service offering. Primarily, our services focus around brand communication and marketing management. So we help with just corporate identities, marketing strategies, digital marketing. But I could really urge anyone that is in this Zoom meeting right now to really follow us on social media. We are going to be like sharing our new digital footprint, and we'll be unpacking all the services that we offer. But at the essence of it all, our company is structured around helping small businesses tackle all their marketing challenges. So anything marketing related, we are ready to help you tackle all those challenges, you know. And our company is structured in such a way that we have a discovery session where we truly want to understand what are your challenges. Then we go back and we prepare a proposal for you, just to show you what it is that we can do for you and assist you with. And we then, once that has been approved, we then take it from there.
Can you give us the Facebook handle, please? Facebook page.
It is Sika Creative Agency. SIKA Creative, CREATIV Agency, AGENCY. Sika
See why.
Creative Agency.
We could also get the follow-up of the hashtag know yourself in the same page.
Get to know you, yes, campaign.
Get to know you. I always say it the other way. Get to know you. My dear sister, thank you very much. On behalf of Mind Think Institute, on behalf of all the attendees, I just want to say thank you very much. I know you haven't even catched a breath ever since getting home. We hijacked you and we put you in this platform. But I just want to thank you very much. And may you continue to do what you're doing, which is inspiring and empowering women in business and in giving them their true identity of who they are. We thank you, and we're hoping this is the beginning of working
Definitely. With you. I'm coming to Free State, don't worry.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for taking your time and being with us. This was a very, very wonderful session. Remember, if you want to share it with your friends, if you want to share it with your colleagues, go to our YouTube channel, Tapelo Big Trumam Taum, and catch up with all the session. I just want to close in this way. Words are like train. What they carry depends on what you're looking for. So right now, me and you, we're looking for a voice that will raise us, that will push us to adaptivity. So please, let's take advantage of this and use this information that is catered in this platform. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank you very much. There's a lot to digest. There's a lot to go through. But like I always say, remember you are the best and the unbeatable element of success. Until we meet tomorrow, I am out. Thank you.
Thank you.